Something unusual is happening in kitchens across the country, and if you pay attention to what people who are aging exceptionally well are doing differently, you start to notice a pattern. An increasing number of seniors, and not just seniors but doctors, neuroscientists, and longevity researchers who study the aging brain for a living, are adding a specific powder to their morning coffee. Not a protein shake. Not a vitamin. Not a supplement marketed with vague promises. A functional mushroom powder that has been used in traditional medicine for centuries and is now being studied in universities and research institutions for its remarkable effects on the aging brain, nervous system, and immune function. By the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly what this powder is, what the science actually says about what it does in the body and the brain, why the coffee combination specifically matters, and the one thing most people get wrong when they start using it that prevents them from experiencing the full benefit. Stay until the very end, because the connection between this mushroom powder and what it does to the aging brain is the part that surprises almost every senior who hears it for the first time. The powder is called lion's mane, named for the distinctive cascading white strands of the mushroom it comes from, which resemble a lion's mane as it grows. Lion's mane, known scientifically as Hericium erinaceus, has been used in traditional Chinese and Japanese medicine for centuries, primarily for its effects on mental clarity, concentration, and neurological health. But what has brought it into research institutions and clinical interest over the past 2 decades is the discovery of specific compounds it contains, called hericenones and erinacines, that appear to do something that almost no other naturally occurring compound has been found to do in the aging brain. These compounds are believed to stimulate the production of a protein called nerve growth factor, which plays a fundamental role in the survival, maintenance, and regeneration of nerve cells throughout the nervous system. Understanding why this matters requires a brief look at what actually happens in the aging brain and why this particular mechanism is so significant. As the brain ages, nerve cells, which are called neurons, gradually lose some of their efficiency, their connectivity, and in some cases their viability. The brain's ability to form new connections between neurons, a property called neuroplasticity, also diminishes with age, making it harder to learn new information, adapt to change, and recover from cognitive challenges. One of the factors that supports neuron survival and the maintenance of neuroplasticity is nerve growth factor, a protein that essentially tells neurons to stay healthy, maintain their connections, and continue functioning. In youth, the brain produces adequate nerve growth factor relatively efficiently. As people age, this production typically declines, contributing to the gradual reduction in cognitive flexibility and neural health that is a hallmark of brain aging. The discovery that compounds found in lion's mane mushroom appear to stimulate nerve growth factor production is what has made this mushroom one of the most genuinely exciting areas of research in nutritional neuroscience over the past 2 decades. Let's look at what the clinical research actually shows, because in this space it is important to distinguish between laboratory findings, animal studies, and human trials, all of which produce useful information but at different levels of certainty. Studies in cell cultures and animal models have consistently found that lion's mane extracts and isolated compounds stimulate nerve growth factor synthesis and promote the growth and branching of neurons. These foundational findings establish the mechanistic basis for why lion's mane might benefit the aging brain. The human clinical research, while still growing in its volume, has produced results that are consistent with these mechanistic findings. A double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trial found that older adults with mild cognitive impairment who took lion's mane for 16 weeks showed significantly greater improvement on cognitive testing compared to those who took a placebo, and that cognitive scores declined again when supplementation was stopped. Another study specifically examining older Japanese adults found that those taking lion's mane scored significantly better on cognitive function tests than the placebo group. More recent research has explored lion's mane in the context of mood, finding associations with reduced anxiety and depression symptoms that may be connected to its effects on the nervous system. Beyond the brain-specific research, lion's mane has been studied for its effects on the immune system, the digestive tract, and inflammatory processes throughout the body. The mushroom contains beta-glucans, polysaccharides that are among the most well-researched immune-supportive compounds in the natural world. Beta-glucans appear to modulate immune function in a way that supports the body's natural defenses without causing the kind of immune overactivation that drives chronic inflammation. For seniors, whose immune systems often become less regulated with age, producing more chronic low-grade inflammation while becoming less effective at mounting targeted immune responses, this immune-modulating effect of lion's mane is a genuinely relevant benefit beyond its neurological properties. Chronic inflammation is now understood to be one of the primary drivers of aging at the cellular level, contributing to virtually every major age-related disease. Supporting the regulation of inflammation through diet and functional foods is therefore not a peripheral health strategy but a central one. The gut health dimension of lion's mane is another area that has generated significant research interest, and it connects to the neurological benefits in a way that provides additional mechanistic support. The gut-brain axis is the bidirectional communication system between the digestive tract and the central nervous system, operating through neural, hormonal, and immune pathways. Research has found that lion's mane may support the health of the gut lining and influence the composition of the gut microbiome in ways that could have downstream effects on brain function and mood through this axis. For seniors who have noticed increasing digestive sensitivity or changes in gut function, the potential dual benefit of lion's mane supporting both gut health and brain health through related mechanisms is a particularly relevant consideration. Now let's talk about why adding lion's mane to coffee specifically makes sense, and why the morning timing is particularly valuable rather than arbitrary. The active compounds in lion's mane, particularly hericenones and erinacines, are more fat-soluble than water-soluble, meaning they are better absorbed when consumed alongside a source of fat. Coffee on its own does not provide fat, but the additions many people make to their coffee, whether cream, milk, or butter in the case of some popular approaches, create a fat-containing vehicle that can enhance the absorption of these compounds compared to taking lion's mane in a capsule with water alone. Beyond the absorption consideration, the morning timing aligns lion's mane supplementation with the period when the brain is transitioning into its most active daily state, when the nerve growth factor stimulating effects of lion's mane are most relevant to the day's cognitive demands. The practical details of how to add lion's mane to coffee matter more than most people initially assume, and this is where many people who try it make mistakes that reduce its effectiveness or cause them to abandon it prematurely. First, the form of lion's mane matters significantly. Many products on the market use mycelium grown on grain, which contains significantly less of the active hericinone and erinacine compounds than products made from the actual fruiting body of the mushroom. When choosing a lion's mane powder to add to coffee, looking for products made from the fruiting body rather than mycelium on grain, and ideally with extraction ratios or beta-glucan content listed on the label, helps ensure you are getting a meaningful concentration of the compounds that research has found to be active. Second, dosage matters. The clinical studies that have found cognitive benefits in humans have generally used doses in the range of 3 to 5 grams of dried mushroom equivalent per day. Many products are underdosed, and adding a small amount of a dilute powder to coffee may feel like you are doing something without actually reaching the threshold that research has associated with effect. Third, consistency and duration matter enormously. This is the most common reason people abandon lion's mane without experiencing its benefits. Unlike caffeine or pain medication, which produce noticeable effects within minutes to hours, the effects of lion's mane on nerve growth factor, neuroplasticity, and cognitive function develop over weeks to months of consistent daily use. The clinical trials that found significant cognitive improvements used supplementation periods of several months, and the improvements were not immediate but developed gradually over that period. The taste profile of lion's mane powder is also worth addressing practically. Unlike some other mushroom powders that have strong earthy flavors that can clash with coffee, lion's mane has a relatively mild, slightly savory flavor that blends well with coffee in most cases. Starting with a smaller amount and adjusting based on personal tolerance is a sensible approach. The safety profile of lion's mane also deserves brief attention. Lion's mane has a long history of use as a food in Asian culinary traditions and a long history of use in traditional herbal medicine, and it is generally well tolerated by most people. The most commonly reported adverse effects in sensitive individuals are mild digestive discomfort in the first days of use, which typically resolves as the body adjusts. People with mushroom allergies should approach lion's mane with caution and medical guidance. For the large majority of otherwise healthy seniors, lion's mane has a favorable safety profile supported by both its long traditional use history and the human clinical trials that have evaluated it. Let's also take a moment to discuss something that bridges the neurological and physical benefits of lion's mane in a way that is particularly relevant for seniors, which is the connection between nerve health and physical function. The nervous system does not only support cognitive function. It is the communication network that controls every voluntary movement, every balance adjustment, and every coordination response in the body. The peripheral nervous system, which carries signals between the brain and spinal cord and the muscles, skin, and organs of the body, is also rich in nerve growth factor receptors and benefits from nerve growth factor support. For seniors who have experienced gradual changes in balance, coordination, or the sensitivity of touch and proprioception in their feet and legs, the nerve growth factor supporting properties of lion's mane may be relevant not just cognitively but physically. The concept of neuroinflammation is also worth introducing in this context, because it ties together the immune-modulating properties of lion's mane with its neurological benefits. Neuroinflammation refers to inflammation occurring specifically within the brain and nervous system, driven by immune cells called microglia that normally serve a protective function but can become overactivated in aging, producing inflammatory signals that damage neurons and impair cognitive function. The anti-inflammatory and immune-modulating properties of lion's mane beta-glucans may therefore support brain health not only through the nerve growth factor pathway but also by helping to regulate the microglial activity that drives neuroinflammation, providing a second mechanistic explanation for the cognitive benefits observed in clinical research. One more dimension worth addressing is the mood and anxiety research on lion's mane, because this is an area that receives less attention than the cognitive findings but is equally relevant for many seniors. Depression and anxiety are significantly underdiagnosed and undertreated in older adults, partly because their symptoms in this age group often overlap with the general experience of aging and are therefore normalized rather than recognized as treatable conditions. A small number of clinical studies have found that lion's mane supplementation was associated with reductions in depression and anxiety scores in adults with mild forms of these conditions, and while this research is not yet definitive, the mechanistic explanations are plausible given what is known about the role of nerve growth factor in mood regulation and the gut-brain connection through which lion's mane may influence neurotransmitter function. Before we close, this video is for general educational and nutritional awareness only. Lion's mane is a food-derived functional mushroom with a favorable safety profile, but it is not a medical treatment for any condition, and nothing in this video should be interpreted as a recommendation to replace medical care or medications with lion's mane. Anyone with existing health conditions, taking medications, or with concerns about cognitive health should discuss these topics with a qualified healthcare provider. If this video introduced you to something genuinely new and gave you a science-backed reason to consider what goes into your morning coffee, please share it with someone whose brain health you care about, because this is the kind of specific, actionable nutritional information that most people never encounter clearly enough to act on. If you found this video helpful, please like it and subscribe to Dr. William Hart Health for more videos like this every day.